So I felt compelled to share this with you guys today because I just spoke with my mother and I told her that, she's a victim of a crime and that she should seek remedy or at least seek relief as a matter of law. She has a right that is obligatory upon the parties who harmed her, injured her. And I told her that she's a victim of conversion of an instrument, but not only a conversion of an instrument, but fraudulent conveyance of the title, because the persons that's listed on her mortgage is not her full legal name, which would be her maiden name first, and then her given name second. And there is no middle name, because that doesn't exist in biblical or otherwise. You got one name in the Bible. Everybody had one name in the Bible. You don't have a family name or a last name. The only time you have a family name or a last name is when a person is deceased. Are you dead? No, you're not. So why do you have a last name? Because it's not you. It can't be you. Because if it has a last name, then it means that a person died. You have a family name, and your family name comes first. So they did not convey her land to her in that form. They conveyed it to her with what's called an assumed or a fictitious name. Well, if you look at some of my older videos on YouTube, you will find out that that is unlawful, because mom and other people who take out mortgages, they 10 times out of 10 did not file a trade name registration with the county recorder of the county or with the Secretary of State for the state that they're domiciled upon to be doing business in that name. So in other words, you just did a conveyance, and you basically underwrote a loan that you're paying so in other words, you paid. Not only did you pay the instrument, they converted the instrument, and then they're still charging you the principal, which the conversion of the instrument in itself should have been grounds for discharge, because once the instrument has been converted, well, guess what? Where's your security? You sign a security deed. A security is insurance. Where is your insurance? And where's the form? And bring it here. If a lot of people getting foreclosed on, and and the bank is still keeping their deed, their security instrument. But the thing is, how are you gonna keep your security instrument if they foreclose? That means that they need to return it, right? But they can't, because how can they return what they've already converted? It's conversion of an instrument, because they take that thing and they go ahead and invest that bad boy and live off of the doggone derivatives, and you're gonna abandon them, because all my videos telling you that that's your property, your labor, you skip past that and watch funny cats. So I don't expect you to care one way or the other, but some people will, because there's something going on here. Like, okay, first off, if the property is a secured loan, well, what was secured? Because you can't get a secured loan on a house because you did not own the house. How can you loan something you don't own? So you didn't get a house on the mortgage. You didn't get a secured loan. It had to either be an unsecured loan or it had to be a secured loan. And in order for it to be secured, you had to fixate your endorsement upon a negotiable instrument. And that negotiable instrument will be held in lieu of payment, meaning that is your payment. And in the event that you are unable to pay, that security deed is your insurance. And in order to even have a mortgage company and to give mortgages, well, you got to have home mortgage disclosure insurance. You got to have home mortgage insurance. Like, you got to have insurance on that doggone mortgage, because in case that title ain't right. Well, these folks is making off with your doggone security because it's abandoned. And then they making off with your interest, and then they turn around and making off with your doggone property because you ain't read the doggone thing you signed. Well, it's kind of hard to read when they just said that you're approved. So now it's an emotional thing taking place now, because now you're locked in. They got you. Because now you're not thinking logically, you're thinking emotionally, which is unstable. Emotions are energy. Energy in motion. Energy in motion is not sustainable. You cannot sustain energy when it's moving, because it's going to either come to a rest or it's going to come to a peak where it's going to accelerate. So either way, you can't rely on it. You have to wait till you're in a state of alpha, relaxation, logic, concentration, whatever you want to call it. That's the state you need to be in when you put documents into the commercial system with your signature on it, because the moment you do that, it becomes what's called a negotiable instrument according to the Uniform Commercial Code. The Uniform Commercial Code governs all laws dealing with commercial transactions. And here's right here, instruments signed for accommodation. You become an accommodation party whenever you sign an instrument. Whenever you sign something, this is a taxable event according to the Internal Revenue Code in the 1099. If an instrument is issued for value given for the benefit of a party to an instrument, the accommodated party, and another party to the instrument, accommodation party, signs the instrument for the purpose of incurring liability on the instrument without being a direct beneficiary of the value given for the instrument is signed by the accommodation party for accommodation. So what that means is that if you sign a ticket, the ticket is written out to the person, not the man, the person that was created by the state that you call you. But it can't be you, because you can't be two places at one time. But this ticket was written to you, and it was also written to a party who was not there to sign for it. That be the party on the driver's license. And that party on the driver's license is a legal person, and that legal person has no rights anywhere but in law. It does not exist anywhere but in law, because it's not real. It's a play. It's a fictitious, a phony, ends, legis, whatever word you want to call it. It's not real. It is not concrete. It is simply existing only on paper. It does not exist in actuality. If you call me Keith Stocks, you're not going to see a Keith Stocks. You're going to see a man. You're not going to see any words going to pop out at you. And that's where people are messing up, because they're sitting there saying, well, that's me. Well, if that's you and you drop your driver's license in the toilet, well, have you drowned? Okay, well, if you haven't drowned, well, how is that you? Because that's your conditioning. You've been conditioned to believe that that is you, but that is not you. That is only your property. And I say that it's your property because guess what? Without you signing an instrument for the benefit of a party to the instrument, and another party to the instrument signs the instrument for the purpose of incurring liability, well, did you sign these birth certificate, social security card, driver's license? Did you sign that in a capacity that is signed for accommodation? Did you sign as an agent, or did you just sign as the doggone principal, as the surety for the debt? And then you wonder why they're coming after you. Well, you didn't protect your rights. You got to do that, because it's your obligation of an endorser. Okay? You are obligated to pay the amount due on the instrument, but you wouldn't have to if you did it without recourse. Okay? You did it without recourse, because they make the offer, the presentment. They offer you the ticket, and you accept the ticket. You make acceptance of the offer, but you don't reserve your rights or your liberties or your rights to not be compelled to be liable for whatever debt is being asked. well, guess what? You've accept liability. Well, now you got to go to jail. Now you got to go, you know what I'm saying, to court. Now you got to, you see what I'm saying? It's a fictitious payee. Okay? It's a form of fictitious payee. It's just like what they're doing with these doggone titles and stuff. They're using fictitious employees. They're not fictitious payees. They're not using your real name, and they're not using their name that's filed on the Secretary of State website. And I've found this with a lot of doggone companies is doing this junk, especially the dealerships. I did it. I bought 5 cars last year. I didn't get none of the cars, by the way, but they're finna give them to me when I give them this nice little shiny 1099A or 1099C, whichever one applies. But the point that I'm making is that I was authorized. I am the authorized representative to sign on behalf of the person, Keith O'Brien Stocks. That is a decedent, a minor, who might or might not have been me at some point in time. But even if it were me at some point in time, it's not me now, because it can't be, because Keith O'Brien Stocks is a minor according to the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 31, which is the Treasury Code. It says that a minor or incompetent is a person who has attained the age of 18 but has not taken control over the securities in the minor's account. Well, the securities in the minor's account would be an accounting, a full accounting, an audit of all the interest accrued since the time of the age of majority. So since the age of 21 or the age of 18, whichever is the age of majority for your state, that is the time where interest starts accruing on every time you got a contract or application filed into the commercial world. That document itself is valuable because the moment your signature hits it, it's signed either by accommodation or signed by a authorized representative, executorial trustee, you know what I'm saying, who signed as a fiduciary. A represented person means the principal beneficiary, partnership, corporation, or other person to whom the duty stated in paragraph 1 is owed, which is the fiduciary. It owes to the represented person. So we are the fiduciary to the represented person, which is the name on the driver's license or the birth certificate or the social security card. We're the fiduciary to that. Why? Because it is a relationship. It is it's a contract, and you can't have a contract without value and consideration. Value and consideration are most definitely absolutely necessary in order for it to be a valid contract. Consideration means any consideration sufficient to support a simple contract. See, told you. So it tells you right there. Now, you folks did go ahead and do the homework. This is the Uniform Commercial Code here that I'm reading, but you know I read it all the time. But the point that I'm making is that you guys have to take responsibility for your own actions, and then once you do that, you gotta go after your title, go after your land, and go after your property and correct those documents, because if you don't, you don't own nothing, and you're just basically paying your mortgage. You're not paying your mortgage to a taxable entity, so you're basically, your money's going to a stranger. It's going to nobody, and then it's being conveyed to nobody. So it's being conveyed to nobody, and you're paying nobody. So basically, you're just out of your land and your money. Or you can just wake up and just do the research and start looking at these things and correct it. Because if you notice that it's a defect on the document and you don't say nothing, well, that means you agree. And I don't know who would do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better get your credits, because you're obligated to be credited. Like, every time your signature hits a document, it's a taxable event according to the Internal Revenue Service. So if you're not taking the time to read these books, and I just gave you all these nuggets, hey, you deserve whatever doggone financial crisis that you going through, because I know you're going through something. You still on this doggone video. But you got to understand, man, you got to do some research. If you don't know where to start, that's understandable. But at least you are humbling yourself to start, instead of sitting there doing like most ignorant people and talking and not listening and not researching.